What do you get when you mix Tetris, Puyopuyo, and an Autobattler? Well, you get a game called Merge and Blade. The gist of this game is pretty simple really. You start off with an empty 5x5 board, which you progressively fill in with units from the top. Every 3 or more pieces of the same unit you link up gets upgraded to the next tier. You also get an extra swap and turn points, but we will touch on that a little later. These upgraded tiers are locked behind an upgrade, which needs to be purchased with gold, which you gain from killing the enemy and completing stages. Progressing upwards in the tier list means that you unlock new units such as rangers, healers, spearmen, and etc. Each unit has their own gimmick, like the rangers being able to attack from the back lines, healers being able to heal other units in a radius, and spearmen being able to pierce for 2 units at a time. Since each unit has their own specialty, it is quite important for you to be able to line up your board proficiently in order to maximize damage and efficiency. This is where the previously mentioned swap and turn points come into play. I like to think there are 2 phases in this game, the preparation phase and the battle phase. The prep phase is basically what the name implies, preparation. Here you have a limited amount of turns which you use up each time you drop the set pieces on the board. There are many ways to approach this phase, as you can drop pieces willy-nilly hoping for the best, or you can strategically drop units to gain extra bonuses and gold if you combine more than 3 units. Here you also have a certain skill called preview where you can see what the next drop pieces are. Using this information, you can set up the units strategically in order to maximize the benefits. For further preparation and to see what you are up against, you also have a recon skill that costs 100 gold, which shows you what and how many opponents there are in the upcoming battle. After you run out of turns, you enter the battle phase, and since each column has to contain 5 units, some of the other units that are dispositioned may reorganize themselves in order to fill in the required rows and columns. This sometimes creates chaos in the lineup that you envisioned, but all is not lost as you have the swap points that can be used in the battle phase. This swap skill allows you to switch the positions of a unit by 1 block, allowing you to reposition for battle, and also to preemptively prepare yourself for the next preparation phase, as you can line up the units that you want to merge in the next round over by lining up 3 or more units during the battle phase. Personally, I would have really liked it if the swap skill was also usable during the preparation phase, but I can see where this may become a little overpowered. Anyways, using these skills and gold as your main resources, you have to manage not only the present condition of your units, but how you would want to lay out the future generation as well, as the surviving members of each battle returns back to the preparation board with their existing health not being recovered. Here, you can merge them to have them upgraded to the next tier and have full health. If you would like to keep said damaged unit, you'll eventually need to have a healer or 2 on the board. As you progress through the stages and win battles, you gain gold which you can spend on upgrades. The upgrades are divided into 2 categories, the first tab being units and the second tab being base upgrades. Unit upgrades are straightforward, as you can spend a certain amount of gold for a small boost in health and damage per upgrade done. The cost of the upgrades doubles per upgrade researched, and the stat boost seems to be about 10% increase in both stats. The base upgrades are a little more diverse. Here you can upgrade the next tier of units and research more turn points, preview points, and swap points to be available. The cost of these upgrades, however, are really pricey as they exponentially grow. As the cost of the upgrades grow, the ever-looming gloom of the grindfest slowly rears its neck in the dark corner. Yes, there seems to be a little bit of a grind when it comes to getting the upgrades, but if you're willing, it doesn't take too long to achieve the money required for an upgrade. But it's still a grind nevertheless, so take that with a grain of salt. A good example of this is in the early stages, a 10-minute map can net you about 7,000 gold. So if you were to grind the stage over and over again for a 60k upgrade, you're looking at about an hour of grind just for 1 upgrade. So preferably, instead of grinding maps that you've already beaten, I think it's just better to progress and lose on newer maps as the gold gain there is much better. With that aside, the game's main campaign should take you about 7 hours to complete, according to the internet. And plus, a little more if you want to get all the upgrades as well. Speaking of campaign, there are several modes of this game as well. Firstly, the aforementioned campaign, where the progress is saved, and it is what you expect from a normal campaign type mode. You have the classic type maps here and there, where you fight waves progressing through the stage, or there is a defensive type map, where you hold your ground battling wave after wave as long as possible. Secondly, challenge mode, which has 2 options, the first being where it basically serves as a new fresh save file, where you progress for the entire campaign, but progress is not saved, and you have to complete it in one sitting, I think. So, basically a challenge. And the second option is where you play endless mode. Thirdly, versus, where you play with a friend and fight each other. Pretty self-explanatory. And lastly, the roguelike mode, where it's probably the most different by far. You have different options here, but for me, I only had the king mode since I'm broke and didn't get the DLCs. And this is where you have a special hero type unit called the king, which gets stat boost buffs the more farmers you have on the board. If this king falls, then you lose the run. After completing each battle phase, you choose a path from two options that reward you depending on the difficulty of said path. With multiple different type of modes and a very unique mechanic, this game is a nice and calm time sink where I definitely think you can enjoy and chill playing in between other games. Sort of like when you play Candy Crush or Tetris when you just want to chill, or not really worry about anything else. Not throwing shade on Candy Crush or Tetris, saying that it's an easy game, but more of a chill session in my personal opinion and experience. This also doesn't mean that this game is easy, as there is the puzzle mechanic to think about in advance, and also how to spend your turns and resources wisely. If you're a fan of puzzle and auto battle games, this game might scratch that itch for you. However, it does get a little grindy and repetitive at times. For me, I couldn't really handle long sessions at a time, as it kinda got boring, as repeating the same cycle of making the same units over and over again got a little too monotonous. Also, progressing through the later stages, your board gets so cluttered up as there is just so many variety of units that it gets quite hard to just make the units that you want. I thought one of the upgrades skips the lower tier units, but for some reason they just kept coming out. I may have misunderstood what that upgrade means, but I couldn't find any explanation on it and what it does. I think it would be so much better if you could just skip the lower tiers, as you basically have no use for them later in the game. With those gripes aside, as of this recording, Mergent Blade is currently out on the Game Pass for Xbox if you'd like to try, and I definitely recommend you check it out and see if it's a cup of tea. I really like my auto battler games and I'm a huge fan of puzzles, so did this scratch the itch a little bit for me. It's not a huge investment of a game, as I know how wearing it can be to start a new game, but with this, you can just jump in with no concerns, and it's definitely a good mindless time sink. If you would like to see more indie content heading your way, don't forget to merge that subscribe and like button into a huge thumbs up. And check out any of the videos in the recommendation list. If you have any titles you would like me to cover, feel free to let me know in the comments below, and also tell me your thoughts about this game as well. Have you tried it? Have you played it? Are you willing to play? This has been Requiem from the IndieMasters, signing out. Have a good day everyone.